guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be, as you guessed it by the title, today's video is going to be all about daycare slash preschool slash sending the kids back to school. So if you've been here for a little bit before, or if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen that we recently made the decision to send our kiddos back to daycare. It was one we put a lot of thought into, and a lot of you guys said that you would like to hear more about it and just sort of like preparing for it, easing the mom nerves, the mom guilt, all that good stuff. So that's what I'm going to get into in today's video. I did do a video on our whole like infant daycare experience the first time we did it, and that video I will link up here if you haven't seen it. So in that video I'm talking about the first time we sent our oldest son Christian to daycare. He was a year old when we first sent him, and I talked through like how we pack and prepare and how we sort of eased into it and all of the thoughts and feelings involved in that video. So be sure to check that out if you haven't seen that. Also, on our most recent podcast episode, my husband and I, and if you didn't know, we have a podcast, so you should be listening to it if you don't already. But my husband and I talked through the whole daycare thing, currently a more updated version of it, why we did it, what the transition was like, how our kids have responded, how it's helped us, everything like that. So I will link that episode, the podcast episode, in the description box as well too. And if you're not a podcast person, you can actually listen to the episode straight on my website too. So I'll link that down below too. I know this is a really long intro, but just sort of wanted to tee up all of the content for today's video. There's a lot to go through, so without further ado, let's jump in. So first and foremost, I will say we recently sent both boys, so they go to the same school. Christian is almost 3, so he's technically in preschool, which is crazy. Like, he's in their preschool class. And Arlo is almost 1, so he's in the baby room. He's actually in the same room with the same teachers that Christian had the first time he went to daycare. Now, when the pandemic hit, we pulled Christian out. His school closed when everybody's schools closed. And we pulled him out, and we just haven't sent him back. And we haven't sent him back partly because we both had job changes, and we wanted to make sure we felt really good about financially, like being ready for it. But we also, you know, we just wanted to be absolutely sure. And so for the last year, a full calendar year, we have been watching both boys at home, a now 1-year-old and an almost 3-year-old, while both working full-time as well too. We both actually work for ourselves. We both run our own businesses, which worked to our advantage because we could customize our schedule. We had flexibility. You know, we didn't have bosses answering that we have to answer to. You know, we can create our own meetings or create our own priorities work-wise. So it worked to a certain extent, and it worked for a really long time. What wasn't working though is that over the course of the last year, we have just gotten so exhausted mentally, physically. I mean, there were many days where it's like we would go like 2 or 3 days without showering because you just can't even get a break. And I have gotten heat for saying that on Instagram, and it's not even like intended to be a gross thing. It's not like I purposely skip showers for several days. It's, if you have been in a similar boat, you know, sometimes you like literally cannot come up for air when you are that overwhelmed. We don't have any family nearby. We don't have consistent help from a babysitter, and we both do jobs that if we're going to have childcare, we need the kids out of the house. I can't film videos with a nanny and kids running around screaming all day. Even right now as I film this, my husband is like entertaining them, keeping them downstairs and quiet, you know? So anyways, that's kind of the background of why we wanted to do daycare, and why now. We made the whole like work from home with the kids thing. We made it work for a really long time, and we just hit a point where like our mental stamina, we were completely depleted. And we talked about hitting a mental fatigue point again in our podcast. We talked about that a couple months ago, I want to say, and then we just sort of kept going, and we got in this groove of like every day felt like a struggle. And we weren't being our best for our jobs. We weren't being our best for our kids. We were constantly like at the end of a, you know, at the end of a short fuse. And we never really got a break to like come up for air, to focus fully on one thing at a time. It was always like a spread focus. We both felt like we were like half-assing everything in life. And when you're half-assing it with your kids, you know that just doesn't work. Our kids both need a lot of attention, especially now our younger son, he's walking, he's hitting like the beginning beginning of a toddler phase, and then our oldest is hitting the end of a toddler phase. He's got a ton of energy, and he was just like sitting around watching TV all day because we had stuff to get done for work, and it just wasn't working. Like, at the end of the day, if you are in a similar spot and you're considering daycare or childcare and you don't feel like you have to explain anything, I'm explaining this now just to sort of give you guys background and because I'm doing a video on it. But at the end of the day, if it's not working, it's not working, and don't feel like you have to explain that. So that's tip number one. But also, I think what really helped us realize we were ready is just that, like, we were exhausted at the end of the day, and every day we kind of felt like we were waking up to go into battle. We were always behind on life. For me, like, the house is always a mess and that stresses me out. We just were ready. It was beyond time. So we were fortunate that we contacted our old school, like I said, the school that Christian used to go to when we pulled him out last year. We contacted them and they were enrolling again, and they had spots open for both boys. The tuition worked out. We're easing them back into it. You know, before we used to do, when we did daycare for Christian before, we both were working full-time 40-hour-a-week jobs for somebody else. We were employed on salary position, yada, 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 9 to 5. Now we're not doing that. So now we have the flexibility to enroll them just a couple days a week. That's what works for us. So they're going 3 days a week for extended day. It's like a little bit longer than half day, but not the full day. And then on the days when they're not in school, they're home with us, and we're considering those off days for us. So those days we are fully focused on the kids. We get them out of the house. Last week we took them to the zoo on one of those days. You know, we'll take them to the beach. Like, daycare has been amazing for us because it has allowed us to be fully present when we're with the kids. Beforehand, we used to be answering emails while with them. We used to be working on projects, or I would be trying to edit, or I would be taking a break to film, or, you know, my husband was like, he would go into a meeting, and then as soon as he came out of a meeting, it was time to like take over with one kid, and we were tag teaming everything all day long. And so now we have the ability to, like, when they're in school, we are fully focused on work, and we are knocking out work so that when we're with the kids, we are more present with them, and they feel it, we feel it. I feel like we can finally breathe for the first time in a really long time. It has just been the best decision for us, and I'm glad we waited until the point where we did, because I don't feel like I wish we would have sent them sooner or anything, because I think we were fully ready. We were fully confident in the decision. I was like 99% confident. There's always like that little shred of mom doubt, mom guilt, but we were ready for it. The kids were ready for a change of scenery, and it just felt like, you know, I would rather do it that way than do it before we're ready. We're fortunate that we did have the flexibility to wait until we were fully ready, but yeah, I think we both were ready for the change. In terms of the transition itself, how it went so smooth. Both my husband and I have been kind of like holding our breaths, like waiting for it to go south. But I really think because after a year of the kids being home with us all day, every day, I think they were ready for a change the same way we were ready for a change. So we did a lot of prep work with Christian to get him ready for preschool, to get him ready, because he's the one, you know, he's almost 3. He's the one who, if it was a tough transition, we would see it more in him. He's vocal. He can tell us when he's upset about something. With Arlo, he's not quite there yet, obviously, so it would be a little bit different. So we really wanted to prep Christian because this was a big change for him. I'll talk about that in a second, but he really handled it so well. By the time the first day came, he was so excited. He knew all about his teachers, like he was ready to go. And it was, when we dropped him off, he had like a tiny bit of hesitation, but he went back with them and was cool and calm all day. And even Arlo was calm all day. So that really was surprising me, because he's a clingy baby. I talked to you guys about how he had colic. He is still nursing from me, and I was prepping myself for meltdowns, for like meltdown central. And honestly, I was prepping that because that's how it went with Christian the first time around. It took Christian a good like 4 weeks to get used to it the first time he did daycare when he was a year. And so I was anticipating the same thing from Arlo this time around. And not a single tear was shed. Like, he was so calm. He just let let them take him. I think partly what it is the new setup with the school, like because of COVID precautions, we drop them off a specific way. They do a specific handoff. It's a little, we don't go in the building anymore. It's a little more like separated than it was before. And before with Christian, we used to walk him all the way back to the classroom. We'd help him get settled, say goodbye in the classroom. And I honestly think that was almost like harder. I think it's easier for them now that we just say goodbye at the door and they go back with the teachers, and it's just more of a separation of like parent life and school life for them. That's just my understanding or my view on it. And so Arlo hasn't cried at all. I actually cried the first time we dropped them off. I cried on the way home just because this is it's such a big change for our family, and especially Christian being in a preschool class. I do this because like he's only 3. Like it's educational, but it's not like formal preschool, if that makes sense. But him being in a preschool class feels like a big step in him being like a big kid. So it's an emotional thing, but it's been so good. I mean, prior to them going back, we couldn't even have a conversation as a married couple. Like Christian doesn't like when we talk, when he's not a part of the conversation. So even if we're in the car and Jordan and I are sitting up front and we're trying to talk about something, he'll talk over us, he'll scream over us, he'll start singing really loudly. He wants to like, divert the attention back on him. He doesn't like when we talk, when he can't talk with us, or if we talk about something he doesn't understand. So we like seriously haven't even been able to have just a focused adult conversation in the longest time. And it's really nice that now we take the kids to school, we come home, I do my work stuff, he does his work stuff, we can like talk and have lunch together and sort of like we've just been like ships passing a little bit because I think we're both so happy to have like a focused work day now. Yeah, it's like things like that. You don't think about how that's so much better. And now when we're in the car, we can like fully be focused on the kids, and we don't feel like we're having to get in these conversations with them there because we can talk when they're not around, So it just, again, it makes our time with them so much more focused, and that is like so much more productive and just positive overall for all of us. In terms of prepping them, with Arlo, there's not a lot we could do to prep him. We just sort of like kept our fingers crossed on that one. With Christian, we did a lot of like talking to him in advance, similar to the way we prepped him for a baby brother. We explained to him he's gonna go to school. It's so exciting. We really talked it up. We were so excited about school, and I think that really helped him feel so excited about school. We're like, you're gonna get to see all your friends and your teachers, and we actually had to pick up paperwork for it. And so a couple days before his first day, we ended up driving to the school with him in the car just to pick up paperwork, take it back home, fill it out. But because he was with us, he got to see our drive to the school building. He saw the school building before his first day. We explained to him, this is where you're gonna go on Monday. This is your school. And so when we did take him for his first day, he already was familiar with the building. Even though he had been there before, he didn't remember it. He hasn't been there in a year. He got pulled out before he was 2. We asked him if he remembered. He didn't remember. Or he said he didn't. So I think driving to the school and just like showing him the outside of the building prior to his first day, I think that really made a big difference in helping him feel comfortable. And then just our excitement around it, us sharing with him, like explaining to him what it is. We talked about it probably for maybe like a week, or as soon as we made the decision to do it, we started talking to Christian about it. And so he was fully prepared and aware, and he knew it was coming come Monday. Like we talked to him a few days before and we're like, okay, in 3 days you go to school, blah, blah, blah. And he watches shows where the kids go to school. And so that helped as well too, I think. And then one thing I did, which just kind of made it like a little fun and cute for me, is I got him a little backpack, and I got him like a cute little backpack that has dinosaurs on it. So it's something he was super excited for. I showed it in one of my vlogs, but when he opened it, he was super excited for it and loves the dinosaurs on it. He calls it his cacnac. He doesn't need a backpack. Like, he's 3. He doesn't actually have any books or anything to bring with him. But for the first day of school, I packed it with a bunch of snacks, and I put his water bottle in it, and he carried the backpack and the water bottle walking up to the building with Jordan. And it just was so cute. And it was like something that I think felt really special to him because he got it brand new just for school. And then he actually was like, I can put my snacks in here. And yeah, it made it fun for me, and it made it fun for him too. And because we had prepped him so much too, when we were driving to school, he was like, I'm so excited. excited. And I was like a ball of nerves, mainly because I was anxious because I didn't know how Arlo would handle it. But on the drive, Christian actually looked over at Arlo in their car seats, and he was like, Arlo, you ready for school? And it was like the sweetest, probably one of the sweetest things he's ever said. It was so simple, but it was like, wow, he's being such a good big brother. And the other day when we picked them up, because they're in separate classrooms, they actually don't see each other at all at school. And so the other day when we picked them up, Christian came out to us first, and then they brought Arlo out. And when they brought Arlo out, Christian was squealing. He was like, Arlo, hi. Like, I think the separation for them is really good too, because, you know, Christian just got a new sibling at the beginning of a pandemic, not even 2, and his world was kind of rocked, and we've all just sort of been stuck inside all day long. And I mean, we go out places, but you know, like we've been at home pretty much for a year without a family or anybody visiting or him seeing people really. And I think he's starting to hit that stage of like jealousy, really rough housing, like kind of anger sometimes towards his brother, normal sibling stuff. But I think because they were never away from each other, this is like a healthy separation for all of us. It's good for us to have some time to miss our kids. It's good for them to have time to miss us a little bit, and for them to miss each other. And then they're really excited to be around each other now, versus beforehand it was sort of like a burden a little bit. Even now, like when we pick Christian up, he's like, Mama, I missed you. I missed you. And I talked about this on the podcast, but before that, he was telling us to give him space. He was like, I need space. Give me space. You know, he's still got that little like teenager attitude a little bit, but he wanted his time away from us before. And so I think he's appreciative of having it. And now the same way like we miss him and we're ready and excited to pick the kids up, they're ready and excited to see us too, instead of us starting every day like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna get through this? We're still so exhausted from yesterday. Another thing that has been a positive for us is that they're working with Christian on potty training at school, which is great because he has been super against it whenever we try and work with him on it. Like just not interested, doesn't want to try it at all. We've just sort of been going with the flow, letting him tell us when he wants to, letting him test it out, we're like dipping our toes in it. But at school, they are potty training all the kids in his class. Like it is a thing, it's a focus. So now we're like full-fledged potty training zone at home too, and really diving into that. And it's been really helpful that he can see other kids, or not see them, but that, you know, he knows other kids around him are using the potty, that he has teachers to tell him to do it and to help him with it the same way we're helping him with it at home. So it's not just his parents he's hearing it from, but he's hearing it from other people too. It's actually funny, after the very first day, so he came home from the first day, I'm gonna like go down a little story time. After his very first day at school, we were like asking him what he did, and he was like, I don't know. He really didn't want to tell us much. He was happy, but like he just wasn't very talkative yet. And then he was like, I pooped on the floor at school. And we're like, you what? And he was like telling us he like pooped on the floor at school. We were like, okay, that's all he would tell us. And we're like, okay, I don't know how that happened, but like, we're like, did it fall out of your diaper? And he's like, I don't know. And he just wouldn't explain it. We're like, whatever, dude. And then the next morning, Jordan gets up to get him out of his room, and Christian is standing butt naked from the waist down. He has a shirt on, but had taken his pants off and had taken his diaper off and pooped in his room on the floor, and then went and sat in his bed and smeared it all over his sheets in his bed. So when Jordan got him out of his room, he was just naked halfway down, and then there was shit smeared everywhere. And we were like, oh, you really did poop on the floor at school. You weren't lying to us. And it was just so crazy because he didn't want anything to do with the potty before that. And one day at school, and he's taken his pants off, taken his diaper off himself, and just going. And we've been working with him on it ever since, but it just was like, wow, he has already learned to take that initiative and already has now created interest in that when I didn't even know he could take his own diaper. I mean, I knew he could, but I didn't even know he would take his own diaper off, you know? So kind of a graphic story, but it was just so funny when it happened. It was one of those things that we were like, okay, that really happened. All right, we're doing this. We are doing this. There is a potty sitting right next to me on the floor right now as I speak, actually. I've gotten asked like for tips and tricks on the transition, and also the mom guilt associated with it, and we talk about that in our podcast episode, so I would definitely say listen to that. But basically my husband didn't have much guilt about it and I did, and I think there's always this, for moms, there's always this internal struggle of like, I need to do this, I want to do this, am I doing the right thing? Is this the best possible situation for my baby? I just want the best possible thing for them. I want them healthy and happy and to be taking my absolute best care of them. And so there's always a little bit of a doubt in the back of your mind, or at least for a lot of us that's the case, until we do something, you know? Like for us, even though I knew we all were ready to send them back to daycare, our school is super safe with it, I was confident in the safety precautions, I was confident in the timing, there was still a shred of doubt, like, you know, is this the right thing? Are people going to hate on me for it? Are people going to hate on me for the daycare aspect of it and for the daycare at the tail end, what I hope is a tail end of a pandemic? And will people understand? And should I not even talk about it publicly? I told my husband beforehand, I sort of had this feeling of being a failure. Like, why can't I do it all? Why can't I work and run a business and breastfeed a baby all day long and take care of a toddler and keep a clean house and keep myself sane? Why can't I do that? I am such a failure. And it's like, no, you're not a failure at all. We are not built to do all of those things, and you need help. And you know, the saying, it takes a village, that doesn't come from nowhere. It's because literally back in the day, villages would help raise babies, and we didn't have that village. We haven't had a village for the last year. We really didn't have one beforehand, you know? And so we did daycare at the time because that is our village. And we as humans and we as parents are designed to have help with this. And if you don't have help with it, it is extremely hard and it's extremely taxing. For us, it was extremely taxing on our mental state. And so that's the most, you know, it's like our kids needed the socialization. Our kids needed the ability to burn their energy, get out and see more things, a change of scenery, people who are focused, who are able to focus on their education and like building their skills in a way that we can't do at home because we're focused on providing for them. And also we just need the mental break a little bit, and that's okay. Don't feel guilty about it. I think like prep your kids by talking to them, prep yourself by just talking to yourself, giving yourself a pat on the back, knowing it's okay. And honestly, everybody told me the first time we sent Christian to daycare, everybody told me the beginning would be really hard and then it would be the best thing, and eventually he would be so excited to go, eventually he wouldn't want to leave, and that 100% turned out to be true. The first time we sent him at a year, it took a few weeks to ease him in, and after a few weeks, he was so excited to go, and he would get upset when I picked him up. He wouldn't want to leave. And now he's so excited to go back, and it just has been the best thing. And that being said, like, I am not here pushing daycare on anybody. It might not be the best thing for every family. Maybe you know, I have friends who do nannies who come over and they work out of the house and they have the nanny watch the kids out of the house. And we did that for a long time initially too. Or, you know, if you're a stay-at-home mom and that is your job, is taking care of the kids, that's okay too. I think the biggest thing is just every family has to figure out what works for them, for their dynamic, for their work schedule, for you know, their kids, their health, their happiness, everything. There's a lot of factors. And so it's not, to me, childcare is not a one-size-fits-all approach, but this is our approach. And I've heard from a lot of you guys who are in similar boats. You know, maybe you're coming back from maternity leave and you're so anxious and scared for daycare. And I have been there, believe me. That's where I was the last time I filmed this video. And it just has been the best thing for us and our family in so many ways. And we're fortunate that we can afford to do it. I know it's a luxury to be able to pay for childcare. So prep your kids the best you can. Prep yourself. Don't feel guilty about it. If you start to feel guilty, just stuff those little thoughts back and just snap yourself out of it. Have confidence in your decision. You know your kids better than anybody else. You know your household better than anybody else. Don't let any other opinions get to you or allow you to start to self-doubt, because you are doing the best thing you can for your baby. And that's sort of the point that we felt like we were at. And I'm so glad, so relieved I did it. And now it's so nice because now our weekends are focused on our kids, unless I'm filming a YouTube video talking about their daycare experience. But no, our weekends are focused on our kids. You know, it's just, I feel like we have clarity for the first time in a really long time, and it feels really good. So I'm sure there are things I forgot to talk about in this video, and like, you know, we're only a week in, so I can definitely update you, but it's been such a seamless, like really smooth transition for us. I will say, like I said, it was not like that the first time around. So in my first video, I probably talk more about that. You could check that out because I kind of have experiences now both ways, where kids respond really positively and just like jump right in, and then where the kid has hesitation and he's reaching for you, screaming, yelling mommy, and you have to leave to go home to go work. So it's tough. I don't want to act like it's too easy, because it's not. It can be a tough thing, but just know every kid is different. Just because someone next to you had one experience with daycare, your experience may be totally different. I've had 2 totally different experiences with both of my kids, and lean on the people around you who have done the same thing. I have one of my very best friends does daycare for her son, and she has for a really long time, and that both times that we did daycare, it helped give me the confidence and the courage and, you know, the self-esteem, honestly, to be able to make that decision, because I saw her do it, it worked out so well, and every time I felt any doubt, she gave me that like confidence boost I needed, and it's been the best thing for our kids. So if you can find people nearby you who have been in similar situations, lean on them, talk to them about it. Facebook mom groups, things like that can be great for that kind of camaraderie. Like I said, it takes a village, and sometimes we have to find the village, and I can be your village too. So leave me a comment and let me know how you guys are doing. I would love to hear from you. And if you have any other questions that I didn't cover, please let me know. I will have that first daycare video and our podcast episode linked down in the description box down below, and I'll keep you guys updated. I will share all of the artwork we are getting sent home again now, everything like that. I will share in vlogs along the way too. So thanks for watching, guys. Hang in there, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.